Welcome, guys. Thanks for being here.
Hey,
Evening.
Thanks for having us.
There we go. We wanted to start with a song. So thank you for doing this. Joe, good to see you. Luca, Toby, everyone. Thanks for doing this. We're going to begin tonight with a track. What would you like to start with?
That was a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. You deserve it. All you guys do. It's amazing what you're doing down in Nashville. It's a really cool story, and we'll dive into that in just a bit. It's very.
No. That's the name of the song.
Oh, okay. Even better. Thank you, sir. Go for it.
This is called Rain on the Rail. Rain on the rail, freezing to die, and I swear that I can't go. Well, what did you find out on the line in the wind and the snow? Rain on the rail in a cloud before she left, seeking them drugs you love. While your lover's bereft. Rain on the rail, I can't tell if it's morning or if it's night. Well, it's all the same, 'cause taking the blame feels like nothing all the time. Rain on the rail, I just sit here and wait. I'm thinking just about bad blood. Cold wind hauling all the treetops, and the leaves fall down, 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 down into the mud. Rain on the rail, well, I can't tell what will go down after all of this. I keep on thinking I just waited to try, but once I wasn't such a mess. Cold and Black Mountain Hollow, I ain't never been out to the sea. So if you see palms all around you, there are one of them down for me. Take you a picture of California and send it back to
Very nice. Welcome the Cordovas officially to our EHM virtual studio. It's great to spend some time with you. I want to start talking about the new record. Congratulations first on Destiny Hotel. And I guess I'll start with Joe. When describing this new album, you've said in, I guess, a recent article, it's about a man growing up and trying to serve instead of take. And I'm curious what that means to you and the band in relation to how you put this whole creation together.
Maybe in the early, certainly not for all great artists, but for some of the ones like me and us that are just kind of working our way through all of this. And greatness didn't dawn on us when we were teenagers, like Jackson Browne. You just played him. He wrote that when he was 17 years old. He's a prodigy. We don't feel that way about ourselves. We were working our way through it. And so when you have when you're an artist and you're one of those artists that's working your way through it, well, then you're going to have evidence of a whole bunch of bad art, of failures, which are of course beautiful victories as it turns out. But you're going to have evidence and papers and documentation and music and recordings of some stuff that you want to work through. And that character as the artist that was that character combined with the artist of me needed to grow up.
I understand. What was it like? If I heard correctly, you were really racing to finish this record before everything shut down. Were you down in Mexico to do this record, I guess, back in January, February, right?
We didn't know the timing of how the closures were going to be, because the studio time was just happened to be booked. But literally the last days before closures, that we went to the bar in LA and got on the plane next door day, and then everything in Nashville was closed. Everything everywhere was closed.
Wow.
So, but we didn't rush it or something. We only had a few days to record, but as it turns out, those were the dates that we had booked for a long time.
One of the things that the band is really good at, you guys are constantly working, and it seems like you were almost always ready to put together a record. It wasn't, you walked in. How many days did it take to put this album together, to record it?
Oh, to record it, just a few days, because we didn't have the luxury of that kind of budget to sit around or something. We wanted a specific guy to help us with it in LA. Of course, Nashville band records in LA, and then we wanted to live right there and walk to the studio. So that was really our requirements. And so if we could have that set up for 48 hours, that was going to be enough. As it turned out, I think it took us 7 days. I went down there and made the grooves up with the drummers, and the guys got back from Mexico a few days later.
Very nice. I've heard you had over 50 songs after you finished the last record. What's it like to have all of these songs, so to speak, in the can, and then be like, all right, we need to start this new project? How does it begin? Do you consider all of them? Are there certain ones you think, I'm going to save that for down the road? What's the process like to get to the 10 songs that make the record?
Well, I'll say quickly that we treat them all the same, but Luca wrote half of them, so he can tell you.
It's a list. We're staring at the list and we're deciding which ones are the ones we can make the most of themselves, if that makes sense.
I'm curious. Yeah. There's a lot of songs that were put together, and you just said you wrote most of them. What is that writing process like for the band? Does everyone kind of get together in the house and write, or how does that work?
Yeah, you don't have many excuses not to around here, because, I mean, even if you lived across town from each other, you got devices and stuff, and there's so much tech that you could really kind of get your thing going, man, Postal Service style. But come on, man, there's a piano everywhere I look in this house. There's a piano in every main room. So, you know what I mean? One of the things I told my little brother the other day, I want to just be walking down the hallway and hit my hand on a paintbrush and go, what's this? Oh, let me just start painting. Like, guitars are everywhere. They're out of the case. They're ready to go. So you're supposed to be writing all the time. Yeah. And so there's a jam going on out there in the barn, and there's a way to record a little bit more of a sound, abstract on your phone. You want to plug some mics in, no problem. It's always ready to go.
How did you guys meet? I know that Toby and you initially were kind of the start of this, of Cordovas, but I know you met Luca at a gig and you were kind of blown away by his poetry. How did you guys meet?
Toby and I come from the same 600-yard radius. Okay, yeah. So we're down there in Charlotte. Sevens is out there where they just legalized medical marijuana, and he was a big proponent of that. He was one of the youngest advocates for medical marijuana in the state of Oklahoma.
He was big school.
Okay. Okay, and then what happened is you go on the road and you go through these long, roller coaster ride of your little life out there on the road, whatever you want to call it, and you're stringing together small tours and playing wherever. And I played this gig in Des Moines, Iowa all the time at the Vaudeville Muse, which sadly closed down. And the thing out there is this music by the band Slipknot, which y'all play, of course, religiously. And yeah, they're great. And but there wasn't much music like mine coming through there. And so some of these kids out there in the Midwest and in these towns are pretty enthusiastic about Americana bands, even if they're unknown weirdos like Cordovas. Like, that's almost better, They're just like that. It's like this some gothic American thing. And I think Luca had known about us and then got the gig because he was the only guy who didn't play like Slipknot in town. And so they gave him the gig and he opened up. And I did go in there and check his set out, because if him and his family and his homies left, then we weren't going to have no people at our show. So I did, what you're supposed to do, and watch this show and clap enthusiastically. And yeah, I think I did notice that they had listened to at least a lot of Bob Dylan, for sure.
Well, how long after that did you join the band, Luca, officially?
It would have been, that was 2014. It would have been about a year, because right after that, I remember that night I told you, Joe, that I was thinking about moving to Nashville. And so I moved to Nashville and was like working weird jobs and playing whatever I could playing whatever stage I could play. And then we got together once again in Nashville.
It is such a collaborative effort, Cordovas. It seems like you've kind of designed it as such, Joe. How many musicians, besides the core band members, are part of the recording process for the album? Because it seems like you always have a lot of different guests and they join you.
Well, Rami, if you flip our record over, Rami's in the Foo Fighters and stuff, and he's my boy, man. I've known him forever from Hollywood. We made this record in L.A. And then Paul played on the first Cordovas record. You know what I mean? Me and Toby pretty much agree that he's all you need. Now, look, man, when you're trying to go out there and piece together road dates, let me just tell you, you got to have some down cats, because drummers need to get paid. And, if you want brilliant guys, they got to get paid because they have brilliant lives going on. And this is all of our, we're just a bunch of fishermen. We don't know about brilliant lives, man. You know what I mean? We're just going out there and trying to catch fishes every day. But some guys have boats they got to pay for and all these other things. So, right, outside of that, there's this guy, Brian Wright, who's a crucial writer. He's part of the family. He helped me write This Town's a Drag, which we could play for you, and a few on this record too. So there's a family, and there's some producers that help us out. Matt Stager down here with his microphones.
Very nice. Why don't we do a song right now?
Sure, let's do This Town's a Drag.
Perfect. It's Cordovas here in the virtual studio on our virtual sessions, 92.9 and 96.9 EHM.
1, 2, 3. This town's a drag. No drugs, heat's on, it's dried up. Bad cops should be drawing guns, flat tops, kill birds, ain't it a drag? No drugs, straight lace, no joke. My last good baby is gone. You let me know what's going around. Get your ear to the ground, let me know what you found. Let me know what you found. Oh, let me know. Oh, just don't get me down on a Thursday night. I'm tired of waiting around, cause I don't care if you drive slow. I could walk there. Who knows who's home? Who else about to throw in? And wide-eyed like a ray gun. It's a fine life if you stay young. And I'm all smile, wanna see one. Cause it's alright, y'all. Alright, y'all. Long Island, you let me know if it's going around. Get your ear to the ground, let me know what you found. Let me know what you found. Oh, let me know. Don't give me down. Oh, this town's a drag. It's no love. It's too cool and frozen up. Highbrow, nose up. Bring some when you shows up.
Very nice. Cordovas here in the EHM virtual studio, 92.9 and 96.9 EHM. Now, I have to ask, are you guys in this famous Nashville commune that you've created. Are you there right now?
Oh yeah.
This it? That's awesome. Because when did the idea come for living with everyone? It sounds like everyone just kind of gets together and it's 24/7 music, as you kind of touched on a little earlier. When did that idea start, and how does it work? Yeah.
Well, everyone was kind of aware of the legacy of like the Allman Brothers and how they lived in the early days, and the story's been told many times about Haight-Ashbury and the Grateful Dead and where they lived. So we weren't unaware of that mythology. But when we got to Nashville, like Lucas said, we were all kind of parted around town. And then Toby, we started thinking about getting the original thing going. What can you say? We had our own bear. We had our own version of the bear.
That's right.
Owsley, and they put us here. They saw the significance of what we were doing, and they put us here. She put us here.
Do you ever have a moment where you think of something and you're like, we have to record this right now, and grab everyone and kind of get them together and do it right there?
Sure. When I was a young kid, it sounds fanciful as hell the way that you just said it, and I remember flying down on my motorcycle in Hollywood and calling all the guys. It's not necessary now.
Yeah.
You just put it over there and document it.
Put in your iPhone and
don't pee your pants.
It's funny. Tell us about Mexico. You had the foresight to put together, I guess you purchased land back when you were on Carson Daly. What kind of inspired you to do that? And if I'm not mistaken, you've been back there almost every year. And are you involved with the Tropic of Cancer Music Festival down there too, right?
That's ours. That's our thing.
Yeah.
That's our festival. And there was, I don't know about foresight. I had the foresight to know that the TV job was not going to last forever. Like the limousine picking me up. I'd laugh every time I seen that thing pull up going, like, what in the hell? Like this is going. Okay. So that wasn't going to last forever. So yeah, man, I didn't have much of a backup plan, and I had like bought a restaurant on the Sunset Strip that had immediately failed. And so, I made this backup plan, this little palapa down in Mexico, and there's a renter there right now, and he's doing a good job. He said a raccoon tried to sleep in the bed with him. And so it was a surf place. And the Tropic of Cancer, man, it became music town. I mean, and Toby can give you another view. I'm certainly an outsider, but I came down to surf. And then, then the second round of musicians like Bright Eyes would start coming, and some guys from REM, and John Paul Jones lives in our town. So I mean,
yeah, it's an artist community down there. It's not a tremendous huge town by no means at all, but it seems like the ratio of artists and musicians and creative people is quite high there. And so we have a large group to pick from as far as like local talent and local artists and things like that. And then we've had an incredible amount of guests come down there
right.
I can't even believe it sometimes how cool. I mean, we had Elizabeth Cook, we had Joan Osborne. I mean, we had Susto down there, if you guys are familiar with them. And it's been a lot of fun getting to play with these people and have them on our stage.
How many years have you done it?
I've been back every year since I ever went down there, 15 years. And who knows what's going to happen this year. It's a tricky year. But I'd always was calling people down to visit. Nobody ever did in the early years. They thought I was just going to go down there and like have cirrhosis and die. And in the sunshine, like twirl up like a sun-dried tomato. And then, but what happened was I didn't. I learned how to surf, and we switched over to beer instead of tequila most of the time in the daytime. I mean, and then guys started coming in the later years.
It's interesting. It's funny because I heard you talk about surfing, and here's this kid from Charlotte, North Carolina, how many years were you in California? And you really, from what I've read, you really immersed yourself, not in the Hollywood, and there was some of that, I'd imagine, because how not, with the limousines and everything, but you really wanted to get a feel for what the real culture and feel was. What was that like to kind of immerse yourself into that environment?
People have a real bad connotation. People have confusing connotations about Hollywood. Hollywood, no one is from there. It's just all of you. We're all bouncing into each other like bumper cars trying to get somewhere with your art, okay? And so I did. But what I heard before I took the Greyhound, I hadn't even flown on a plane. And before I took the Greyhound, they said in Raleigh, North Carolina, they said, my guy said, go to Hermosa Beach. there's hippies and you can work at the beer place and I'll tell them you're coming. And then, you know, like in the 2 weeks before my ticket, I just went, you know, I think Hollywood is where the bands are. That's where like Guns N' Roses, you know, like everybody's in Hollywood. So I went and got a bungalow in Hollywood instead, and I served my time there 9 years. I believe I know Hollywood well. If you want to see this other guy from North Carolina rolling past the red carpet around the back, I mean, dude, I owned a bar. It was ridiculous what we had going. The entourage and it was entourage.
It was like fantasy world. I mean, it was crazy. And we would go to these clubs where we would go through a secret door, and then we'd go through another secret door.
I remember one time, like, my boys from North Carolina came out for my birthday, and like we got our table like at this fancy thing, and we were just like chilling at our table, and Jeter comes in next to us, like it's Jeter's table. So you know, like I was really enthralled, you know, by Hollywood and like the lines, and I loved Chateau Marmont. But anyway, when I got the TV job, I knew that I could get, first of all, from the beach back up to the studio in the valley because they sent me limo. And that's when I moved to the beach. And that was only 25 at this point. You remember, I 26 or something, you know. And so I started learning how to surf, and that's what led to Todos Santos.
How did you get involved with Last Call, becoming the band leader for that show? Was it because I know everything you started in 2002 with signing Atlantic Records, and you had your first solo project, but how did you evolve to becoming the band leader?
So on my record cycle, you guys are radio people, so you know exactly what that is. You go and you do radio all the time, and you do phoners, and you call EHM and say thanks for spinning my record, and then you go and you come through New York and you do a bunch of press, and you do the Carson Daly Show, which it was back in New York back then. And Carson was very hospitable, and we drank some tequila in his little office there in New York, and it was in like 30 Rock, and we jammed the show, and then that was that. And then I see the guy in LA, okay, at the bar, and MC Hammer was there that night, and so was Quentin Tarantino. It was at the bowling alley thing in Hollywood, okay? And Carson goes, come out here. And he was just valeting his car, and before the valet had taken it off, he reaches in there and turns up the radio, and it was my record on in there. He was spinning War of Women. Okay, he's like, wow, this guy's great. You know, like Hollywood is great. MC Hammer. Okay, so then I'm throwing a party with a bunch of like celebrity actor people because I knew Thundercat and Kamasi and Zayn Musa and Zayn Carney and all these jazz guys were kind of the team that I was kicking it with. I wasn't hanging with the rock bros. And a celebrity started coming to see our thing, Ashton Kutcher, and we started doing this party. And then Carson comes and sees all the horns.
That's great. And then from there, you got the job. You were there 4 years, right? On Carson.
They said they wanted to hire me for a week. So you know, can you bring your guys and with horns and do the music? I said I can make them. I could get the music together. I couldn't chart it, but I could arrange it. But when I was in there in rehearsal, like the third day, I was just sitting around going, God, we had to learn so much about like the technique of this in the first 2 days. It was a crash course. Like they don't want to show a new band this next week. Like they want to keep somebody. And I remember telling the guys like, do really watch me closely because I'm lasered in on this shit, on this stuff. Sorry. And yeah, they wanted to keep somebody.
Very good. Why don't we do another song, maybe from the new record? And
sure.
Cordovas, it's great to have you. I want to dive into a little bit more. I want to talk about kind of literature and its effect on this record, because I know that there's a lot. The one thing I really respect about you guys, as I've learned, is you're really trying to grow in your lyrics and truly every aspect, and you're always learning. So I want to touch on that a little bit, but let's do another song from the record.
And for the record, this is one of the most, you have some of the most insight and done some of the most best, deepest research. We appreciate this very well. We're going to play for you High Feeling as a reward. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I was riding out the storm, waiting on the sun. Well, the sky cleared up and all the rain is done. On a lonesome road, mile after mile. Well, when I think of you, I start to smile. You give me that high kind of feeling. I don't want to come down. Such a high kind of feeling. I don't want to arrival. You can feel it deep down in your soul. It's a welcome arrival. Open up your heart and let love fly through the door. I open up my mind, 'cause that's what it's for. It gives you that high kind of feeling. I don't wanna come down, no. You give me such a high kind of feeling. Well, when you coming in, 'cause I don't know when. All I know, I got a feeling, yeah. You give me that high kind of feeling. Yeah, you give me that high kind of feeling. Yeah, you give me that high kind of feeling. I don't wanna come down.
Very nice. Cordovas here, part of EHM's virtual sessions. Want to mention that tonight's EHM sessions brought to you in part by Ocean Air Services. For refrigeration, heating, and cooling, call Ocean Air Services, 631-821-4003. That was great from the new record. There's a lot of different influences on this. I read that you had kind of a rule for this record where you wanted to take certain phrases out of it, and you wanted to make sure that it was kind of steered in a certain direction. If I'm not mistaken, that was the phrase "I want." Where did that come from, and what was the desire? How did you accomplish that?
We actually say "I want" in the chorus of that song, but it's in context is context is everything.
Ironic of the question then.
Well, I mean, because you know what I mean, man. Context is everything.
Yes.
And when you place that seed into people's minds, all of us will be listening to the radio after this interview is over, and you'll start hearing the powerful use of that term and the way it really guides the way we feel about the storyteller, okay? Now, we aren't at the time in our life where, look, you gotta have some words. So roses are red, violets are blue. I mean, it's just, we're not at that time in our life. And I've made that mistake where I've thrown down words for whatever, like, business reason or whatever reason you need to fill the blanks or to fill the cracks in the wall. You need something that's really bona fide. So then that brings you to the next point. What the hell is bona fide? What does that mean? What is joy? What are all these things? And so that is where we wanted to be with it and kind of addressing those things, in addition to remembering that a person who is watching the leaves fall down to the ground like they do in Rain on the Rail, that is longing. That is loneliness. So you can get far without having to say, "I want," or, you know what I mean? Baby, baby, I love you. I miss you. I messed up. And, but I love you.
We briefly touched on it, the effect of literature and learning on you guys when you write. I know Joseph Campbell was a certain influence on you guys, and I'm curious how it's evolved over the years, because I feel like, Joe, you've lived a few different lives. I'm sure everyone in the band has, but you've seen it from a lot of different sides, and you've kind of evolved to where you are now. I'm curious, the moment when you, not to say that you never appreciated the effect of collaboration, but when did you really change your mindset to know that, no, this is how I'm going to be a musician for life. This is real. When did it kind of hit you and kind of decide to change your course a bit?
I think there was a coming to the reality of what had happened. I had gone on this gigantic ride, but I was really back down to where it all began. If not, I don't know, like a plateau lower than that or something, because the scarring of the whole thing, right? And so, you have to look. The Rainer Maria Rilke's a good one where he's talking about, you got to look deep in this young man and go, are you an artist or not? It's okay to say no, but you better take that long glare at yourself into the mirror and figure this out. Something that it's sad. It's a tricky situation because you don't want to discourage people, right? And so in that, I needed, I needed help for greatness to occur. But it couldn't be anybody.
I think it's what I've seen in just researching the band and learning about your history with everyone is that you almost needed to go through that. You almost needed the failure to understand and appreciate where you are now with the band, because it's not about necessarily fame and fortune. It's about making art that lasts. And I love that statement that you talk about building to last. You guys have such a different perspective on the pandemic than most. Most people are like, wow, it's crazy. What are we going to do? And there's no shows. You kind of have the opposite approach.
Yeah, the whole worst year ever thing, like, when can this thing end? Like, I don't know if Joseph Campbell's going to buy that too much. You know what I mean? Like, we're not trying to have any one perspective that weakens any one moment. And if you look at the Starbucks girl as Starbucks girl with hat, you are customer with suit, then you will weaken the moment. Then you will not open the door for beauty. And that's what we're trying to do, is just keep the door open for beauty. And so, like, the concept of, well, here's another terrible day and a bad year. I've never had a bad day. I don't even know what that means. I've been in jail, but it wasn't a bad day. It was hilarious.
That's another time I think we could talk about that story. I'm curious, you released the album, like I said, in the midst of this. Clearly you didn't expect to. What are the good things that you've experienced that putting it out during this time that you kind of realized, no, I'm glad that we're going through this. You've noticed a positive.
Yeah, go ahead, Weave.
Well, I think with this pandemic and no large-scale live shows going on, people are still looking for entertainment, and they're looking to be inspired.
Yeah.
And we saw it as a platform to kind of experiment with our shows. What originals are we going to do? What covers are we going to do? What albums are we going to tribute? What new songs can what are new ways that we can play the songs that we already know?
And a lot of what are our weaknesses?
Absolutely.
Examining
that.
You guys have been essentially quarantined already together in the house in Nashville for so long. Anyway, putting this whole thing together, I'd imagine if you had 50 songs after the first record, you probably have another 50 more that you're working on. Are there ones, and this is just kind of a quick question before we get ready to wrap up, any questions for the band, please send them in the Zoom chat, and we'll call on you in just a little bit. Are there any songs that that didn't make this record that you're already working on and kind of eyeing the future? Maybe EP release or how
too many to count.
Yeah,
too many to count. I just told them. They asked me this today. We did whatever, some other radio thing today, man, for somebody else, and he said that same thing. I said, well, I was just texting him. You got to put a huge list of songs on the wall. Wow. You got to keep up with these things. It's impossible, man. We got a factory here. You brought this guy in for the sheer fact that he can put a song together already. It's encouraging Toby and Sevens has been rendered big rewards for us, because he wrote on almost every song on the record. I don't think that's ever even happened. So it's like, did your parents even know that you wrote? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't.
I didn't. I was a lead guitar guy in cover bands. I mean, that was what I did before Cordovas, and it's exciting to be able to contribute to art instead of just copying somebody's licks for a bar band.
That's great. You guys keep producing. You're in the house, and any plans to head out, any drive-in tours, so to speak, or are you looking to get out there on the road at all?
We're kind of a little bit too unknown for the drive-in level, and of course the level that we're on would be happening indoor in clubs, and I don't see that happening. We certainly know what's going on with our agent and how they have the next year planned. But man, yeah, we know that we're a little bit further on down the list anyway. So once you start seeing the Isbells and the other guys start going out, we'll have our order of things.
I am curious because it must be you want to play these new songs before an audience, before a live crowd, to see which ones react. I love the fact that when you do play, you mix it up. There is no one set way to play the song. So I'd imagine it's fun to get out there and see the reaction.
Well, you must have listened to a lot of Cordovas, because there's never going to be any duplication of any kind of version. But there's also something else about that, man. You talked about the playing them in front of people. You are in front of people right now.
That's true.
You got to do good. Do good for each other. Break my heart right now. You probably could do it with as much research as you did on us.
Well, it's been a pleasure really chatting with you guys. Anyone questions for the band, please let us know, and we will try to get them on. Why don't we do one more song, and then we'll get ready to wrap up tonight. We appreciate you taking the time here.
All right, cool. Well, y'all are up north. I don't know how many mountains are there. Why'd you pick that one? Really? Long Island. Long Island's an island, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No mountains. Bald Hill, but that's about it.
hit me with some way downtown then.
All right.
What key you playing?
Let's do it in D. It's late last night when Willie came home. Pop heard a rapping at the door. Slipping and a sliding with his new shoes on. Pop said, Willie, don't you rap no more. Way downtown, throwing a rap. Took me to the jail. And sold me, oh my. No one know my way. I wish I was on Sally's front porch, sitting in that old armchair. Got one arm around this old guitar and the other around my neck. Way downtown, fooling around, took me to the jail. So me on my, no one to go my way. One old shirt is all that I got. One whole dollar do I pray. I took nothing with me into this whole world, so I'll take nothing to my grave. Way downtown for winter and took me to the jail. It's only on my, no one to go my way. No one to go my way.
Very nice. Everyone's clapping on the Zoom for you guys. That was terrific. Cordovas here in the virtual studio for EHM Sessions, brought to you in part by Ocean Air Services. As we spend some time with the band, I want to talk about the future. Obviously, you guys are sticking around. Tell us a little bit about what's coming up if the Tropic of Cancer Festival happens in 2021. I think the lineup's up there, or at least the schedule for right now. Fingers crossed, of course.
Not the 21, but I know who wants to come and stuff. You know, man, just inviting people down right now is tricky. So we'll probably try to do some web version this year if it suits us. You know, we're not, that's not really our strong suit, but our strong suit is throwing a pretty good party down there. So yeah, I would look for 2021. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that can happen. So if anything, it'll be pushed back a bit.
And a virtual.
But count on all of our regular homies, man, Joan Osborne, and I'm certainly excited to see Tim Bloom sing again and all that stuff, man.
You guys have a lot of live streams too. Anything coming up that you want to talk about and kind of promote? And website, we'll link to all of that on our social. But I know you're doing a lot of different shows online, and they're real concerts too.
Well, we certainly. I was telling the guys, man, you don't just throw your shirt on 20 minutes before, man. You light the candles, you get a shower, you put your thing on. It's like you're a little leaguer getting ready for the game that night. You got to take it seriously. And then by the time you walk in there in front of the camera, if there is a little bit of nice lighting, you're going to get a little something in your stomach that makes it feel real. And I promise you on the other end can feel it. You can feel it. And so that's because all the way that you treated your whole day, and they can see that emanate from you. And so, yeah, we intend to, whether we go to Mexico or not, we intend to keep at least our Saturday night gigs still going. And we have we've been working up our production.
Very nice. All right, last question. This has nothing to do with anything. You mentioned baseball a lot. Did you play?
Oh yeah.
Were you like just in high school, or were you like actually like a semi-pro, or because I'm curious?
No, so like I was pretty like had some nice trophies or something early on, and then I tried out for the Marlins. Florida Marlins called me to try out when I was a young guy, and then went to high school you know, got into beer and stuff, you know. But
Yeah, I was just curious because you do mention baseball. It's
I
interesting.
love it.
You sound like a player, and you were. Yeah.
I love it so much, man. I swear I do. We have a pretty official wiffle ball league out back. I think having the yard is crucial. You can't believe like a wiffle ball freak. I'm also more into like playing than like watching some bros do it on TV and some other bros talk about it. But I love baseball. I really do.
We do have one question. I'm going to unmute you right now. The last one, I don't know the name, but here's CME. Here we go. I'm going to unmute you. You have to unmute yourself. You have a question for the band before we wrap up. Thanks for your time, guys. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you were great. If they were all like this, I'd do them all day long.
Hey,
right. There you are.
Hey guys, my name is Chris. I really enjoy listening to your records, and I just wondered if you have if they sound very organic. Do you have a process that you always follow, or a certain creative team that you use when you're making your records?
They would. That's a great question, and thank you very much. They would more or less sound the same. What our producer in LA did was make it, and I don't like using this term, but it made it sound like it didn't. If you were listening to it on the radio, that it wouldn't take a dip all of a sudden, you know. It needs to be bright and clear so it can go in line with the radio. We need the radio. It's important. The DJs here know exactly what I'm talking about. So Rick was really useful in making sure that because he's switching back and forth, and then when he goes for breakfast and coffee in the morning, LA, he's listening to pop radio. Okay, and then he's downloading the song, and then he's A/Bing versus ours, and you're not listening because we stole the song or something. It's about the brightness, the loudness of the track, the clarity of the drums, where they're laying in the snare drum. So that finished part of it, the gloss, the extra sweet trim, you know, like you painted a wall and then you did the frame, but then you used a slightly different shinier paint on the frame so it just stood out. That's what Rick did. As far as the way we throw the songs down, they were going to be pretty true to form because we don't let him, the producer's not showing us our parts. He's not doing any input like that. We are well prepared to push record by the time we walk in there.
Very good. Well, a lot of positive comments in the chat. Really, they want to get you to the Stephen Talkhouse in Amagansett in the Hamptons. We'd love to have you there. And if you're ever on the island, once things open up, we want to get you in the studio and chat with you more. This was great. We look forward to everything. Check out the new record, which is out, Destiny Hotel. It is EHM Sessions, brought to you by Ocean Air Services tonight. Thank you so much for doing this. Thanks for everyone for coming. Please get home safe. Keep an eye out for our next EHM virtual sessions, which is going to take place a week from tonight. We're doing a virtual Halloween party, a little bit different with Band of Heathens. That should be fun. If you guys want to come, feel free. And we'd love to have you. And I'm going to unmute everyone. I'd love everyone to just kind of give them a round of applause for everything tonight because you were terrific. Thank you so much.
You deserve one too.
Cordovas.